Welcome to the Making Up the Numbers podcast. The Making Up the Numbers podcast is sponsored by Hope Technology, J-Tech Suspension, Revolution Bike Park, Ride Southern Spain, Schwal, and the world's finest independent mountain bike magazine, Singletrack.
What's that saying? You wait ages for a bus and then two come along at once. And I'm delighted to say that for this episode, we're joined by the 2024 World Champion and World Cup overall winner, the one and only Vali Höll. Welcome back to the show, Vali. How's it going?
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Yeah, currently at home, waiting for the snow, to be honest.
Yeah, you said it's looking like it's cold at the moment.
Yeah, it's like pouring rain and perfect week to just chill and do nothing.
Nice. So thank you for making the time for us. I think, I thought you were having a big family party last night to celebrate the wins. And here we are at 9 a.m. And I was thinking, God, is she going to be feeling okay? But it wasn't that big, was it?
It was all right. It was super nice and cozy. But I feel like more and more I become a morning person. So I don't know, I just start waking up at 7. And I'm like, okay, what should I do?
Yeah, so tell us where you've been already this morning.
I've been to the bike shop. I bought some new road shoes, some white ones, because my physio Greg wouldn't ride with me if I wear my black ones longer. And I went to the post office because we have an election in a few weeks and I'm not at home. So I need to make sure that I get everything done before. So
it's 9 a.m. your time, 8 minutes past 9 to be precise. And if you want to be a world champion, this is the kind of schedule you need to keep. Not a bad couple of weeks then. A three-peat at World Champs, followed by a three-peat in the overall. If anyone deserves a party, it's you.
Yeah, it's mad. This year I didn't really go to any parties, any World Cup parties. I don't know why, but I was just so tired. I hope next year I have also energy to go to the parties again.
Well, Jack and Emmy are also here. And Jack is, tell us where you are, mate.
Yeah, good morning. I am in the camper. We're on the way to Verbier for the European Cup Finals. So, it's been on the road for about 3 hours.
Nice. Well, you're already dropping out.
I should probably clarify, I'm not driving.
Yeah, you're in the back of the camper for anybody who isn't watching this. You're already dropping out a bit, so thanks for making the effort. But if we're struggling with signal, either Emmy or myself will jump in. And Emmy's back in the closet.
I am.
Cammy's closet, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm back home.
Yeah.
That's Cammy's closet, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm at home. It's also cold.
Cool. You good?
Yeah, pretty good, yeah.
Excellent. So, Vali, a few months back, I think I told you this when we chatted in Champery, someone asked me, have you fallen out with Vali? Because she hasn't been on the pod for ages. And it's something I was kind of actually conscious of. But I said to them, well, she just keeps winning. And you won there again isn't always the most exciting story. But last on the show, season 4, episode 9 in October 2022. So we've got lots to chat about. Let's rewind to Lenzerheide 2023, first race of that season. And Rachel Atherton turns up in the start gate. Tell us a bit about how that made you feel, because she was your hero, wasn't she?
Yeah, it's mad. I think nobody really expected Rachel to be kicking our ass.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a wake-up call, first race of the season. So, yeah, I think it boosted everyone. I mean, obviously, it's an insane achievement. And for women's sports, it's insane to show that, you're capable to win World Cups, even if you're a mom. And I think it's a really cool statement. And I'm stoked to be a part of this because now we know what's possible. It's insane.
And how did you feel when she won? Were you happy that you got to stand on the podium with her, or were you annoyed that she beat you?
Well, I wasn't annoyed about who was winning. I was more annoyed that I was 4th or 5th even. I don't even remember. It was a shitty race on my side. So it was more that I was not happy with my performance. But obviously it was cool to see to be in the podium with, I think, it was my first podium with Rachel ever.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
I got to stand on the podium with Steve Peat earlier this season. He's been doing some races here and he's in my category now, so like 50 plus. And he's racing because his son's racing. And I'm probably one of only a handful of people in the world who've ever got to stand on a podium with Steve Peat. I've done it twice now. So it's always nice when people do that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, morning, Valley. Can you hear me from the rolling studio?
I
Yeah.
hope so.
Hear me okay. If I start dropping out, George will jump in, like you said. So the following weekend, you moved on to your home race in Leogang, and as we've said before, you always feel a lot of pressure at that race. But you had the perfect weekend. You won all the semis out the finals. How good would that feel?
Yeah, I mean, Leogang for me was always a super tough race. And last year was the first time that I could actually manage to win at home, which I don't know. I feel like I was super driven after Lenzheide because I wasn't happy with my performance there. And I felt like a robot, and I've never ridden so aggressive in practice during that weekend in Leogang, and it just paid off. Everything was just going smooth, and I was really into it. And then had the first time a perfect weekend. And I mean, winning it at home honestly is comparable with winning World Champs for the first time. Like, just the emotions and feeling were insane, and the crowd in Leogang was crazy. And then Andy Kolb also won on the same day, so it was a massive day for us Austrians.
My next question was going to be, Andy Kolb took the win in the men's, so the perfect weekend for Austria. Was that the cherry on the cake?
Well, it was mad. Like, my dad was joking, it's going to be a new holiday, bank holiday in Austria. Unfortunately,
cool.
like, downhill in Austria is still not where it could be, or compared to other sports is still pretty low. But I think Andy and I, we try to make the move and improve it, and like do all the necessary media work, even if it's sometimes maybe not that cool, because you're not hanging out with your people. You have to hang out with some politicians or like people from other industries, and sometimes you feel a bit out of place, especially as a mountain bike rider. Sometimes you feel like they don't take you serious, and they think you're just someone, sending it and being loose, but they don't understand that we're actually all professional athletes and also kind of business people at the moment.
Yeah, cool.
So, Valley, you also raced out of Whistler, Frankfurt this year mid-season. I was there as well, and the track is absolutely, in my opinion, absolutely unbelievable. What did you think of it?
The track, you mean, of in Canada?
Yeah, the 11 night track.
Well, when I did the track walk in Whistler, first I was a bit intimidated, especially of that massive second road gap, which wasn't even on live TV. I was so bummed because you could see the first road gap, which was already big but smooth. But then there was that second one, and it felt like 3 times bigger.
Massive. Yeah.
And it wasn't even on live TV, and I was like, I'm sending it and nobody sees how I risk my life. So that was a gnarly track, super long. So I heard the rumors that we might have a World Cup on this track. It's going to be mental, but definitely one of a technical track, and it would be nice to mix it up at the World Cups again with a bit maybe slower racetrack, but more tech again.
Sure, that jump was massively intimidating. I don't know if you remember this, but I think it was the last practice session where we went out. There was a bit of a wind, and I remember sitting in the start gate thinking, "That's going to be a crosswind on that drop." Like coming out of those 2 berms before it, thinking, "Oh, okay." But yeah, George, honestly, like, it is massive, this thing. Like, if you didn't land it perfect, your head would go, "Oh boy!" Like,
I actually got towed in by Lou Ferguson, because I think she just came straight from hardline to this race, and she was already sending it on the second lap. So I was like, okay, I'm going to follow her, because she's used to do big jumps. And then she landed so hard that she got a flat front tire from the landing, and she nearly crashed in the landing. And I was behind her like, oh my God, why am I following people? I normally hate to do this, but yeah, she was the first one to hit it. So it's pretty impressive.
How did you get on the race? Did you go well?
Yeah, I mean, the track was super long, so I was just happy that my hands could hold it. And it was for sure a good preparation for World Champs the week or 2 weeks after in Fort William.
World champion for a second time in Fort William. They did a lot of work to the track for World Champs. Did you prefer that to the old Fort William?
Oh, it was like an autobahn. It was so smooth. I remember, like, normally every time after the rocks, you had to like be prepared for the holds after, and you just were like cruising into all the turns, and you carried so much more speed. It was also the first time that the women were racing under 5 minutes on this track. So it was definitely better, like super fun, but also a bit less technical. But yeah, it was a good one.
So I've raced Fort William for 10 plus years, but I've not been able to race the last two. So I've never ridden it as the smooth thing that it is now. I'm still just, my last race is on the rough one. 2023 was quite simply an incredible season for you. I'm not going to go through every race, but let's do a few stats. 8 World Cup races plus Worlds is 9 Worlds level races. You qualified first at 7 of them. 7 of them had semi-finals, which you won 6 of, and then you won 5 finals. So 25 races, you won 18. That's domination. Did it feel like that to you?
I was definitely aware that I was doing well in semi-finals, and I love to be last in the start house. Like I love that feeling, because just last weekend I had to wait in Ludenviel down at the bottom, and it was terrible. It takes ages until everyone is down, and I was more nervous than at the top.
So Vali, the year before in 2022, you kind of like were in a three-way with Marianne and Cami, like to battle for result. And in 2023, they both had injuries. So Mira didn't ride a whole season, and Cam obviously had that crash in Andorra. And Tanya also wasn't really quite where she is today. We talked about domination, but did you miss those 4 like pushing you so hard at the time?
It was crazy because I feel like Kami and Miriam got immediately replaced by Nina and Marine. And we all know that Marine is able to go super fast in finals. Like, you know, she's also winning World Cups. And Nina is also there. Like, if she has a good weekend, she can beat me. And I know that. And that's what they did. Like, Nina beat me in Andorra and Marine kicked my ass in snowshoe. And they were all hungry to win. And it's pretty cool because nowadays it's not like, oh, you only have like 2 serious competitors. Now I think there are 10 women who already won a World Cup, I believe. And way too many women who are able to be in the top 3. So like women's racing has never been that tight, and it's so exciting because, you know, it doesn't matter if someone is unfortunately injured because they're just 15 other girls waiting to be on the podium or winning a race.
I've just remembered Mont Saint Anne, Marine's running Mont Saint Anne. That was the last race of the year. Was it last race of the year last season when she crashed? Would she beat you there, do you think? If she'd have stayed on?
I don't know, because I was always making time at the bottom. Like also Nina was super close at the first few splits. And then I would like make a lot of time at the bottom. Maybe she would. I don't know. So we will see this
We'll
year.
never know.
No, but it's really interesting what you say, because I remember that with Rachel at my time, that everybody was like, oh my God, Rachel's here, 2nd place. That's what we're battling for. But then once she wasn't there, everybody was riding so much faster because we were like, oh, we got a chance now. We can like one more spot. And it's actually true what you're saying, is that people step up once they believe they can win.
Yeah.
And obviously, yeah, that's really true. So you took the overall again that year, and that will be your last one for track. Tell us a bit about that move. Did they try to get you to stay?
I was actually pretty mental because I signed the contract with YT already in March 2023.
Wow.
So I raced the whole season knowing that I'm going to leave anyway, and it was clear for everyone. Yeah, obviously I had some renegotiations with track as well, but for me it was clear it's time to move on and try something new. And even though it's not really new, I just went back home and went back to YT, which is a super cool story, and I just feel really good on this bike. I don't know why, just I think the whole brand identity suits me really well. And I think like racing with a clear mind and not having to worry about finding a team and trying to impress sponsors and people just helped me to deliver, and also to know that, oh, it's going to be cool because I have a change next year, and it's a bit of a new motivation. Not that I was lacking motivation already because I'm only 21, or 22 now, but it's nice to freshen things up a bit.
Yeah, and I feel like at track the team was fairly small as well compared to the result you were doing. Like you were in a small tent and everything, and it feels like YT really gave you like a platform to like also expand at so many other levels. Did it feel like that to you as well?
Maybe from the outside, RockShox track looks small,
Yeah.
but definitely on the budget side, I think we were one of the most safest and well supported the teams out there. To be honest, I mean, SRAM and RockShox, they're huge, and they provided us everything that we needed. And even though we had a small tent and not a truck like we have now, it didn't really bother me, except that maybe on rainy races it was a bit cold, but that's all.
So talking about contracts and everything, well, I believe you're getting paid fairly well right now. And I mean, as like a woman's racer or former woman, so we're really grateful to you because that helped us like raise the value of other female athletes too. I'm pretty sure you're conscious of that, but tell us a bit of that about that aspect, because I think you care about it as well.
No, it's pretty mental because I mean now with equal pay everywhere, doesn't matter if you're in sports or working in a restaurant or anywhere. It's just becoming now a topic that's reasonable and there is no bullshit anymore. Like it's clear and everybody fights for their rights, and I think that's really cool. In biking, I think it's also quite sad because as an athlete, you rely on your sponsors, and most of the time the sponsors come up to you and present your number. And you're like, okay, it looks nice because it's maybe probably more than what you got the year before. But then they could offer you more, but they don't. And also probably men get offered more as well. So it's, I think, a bigger problem from team managers and brands that they don't offer you the same amount. And with YT, it was the first time that I got offered the same as male riders. And that was pretty cool. Like It was really honest and like a really cool move from YT.
100%. Yeah.
What do you think that is, though? Do you think that it is because there's like a lack of women in like high positions on the mountain bike scene? Or what do you think it's lacking of?
I mean, I think it's so really deep in the roots of everyone in their heads. I think it's just a social thing that people think, okay, there are less riders, there are less competition in women's racing. There are only 15 girls racing, men, there are only 30 racing. And but that's bullshit because now there's the same amount of women racers at the World Cups and same amount of different men winners, you know? It's not like that you have one dominant person and then it's boring to watch. And I think it's changing now, everything. But I think it's more like a social problem that's existing everywhere. It doesn't matter in sports or normal life.
Yeah, thanks for that. Back to bikes. How did the switch over to the new twos go? Like how was it on a new bike?
I was sick because I knew they're gonna come up with the mullet bike. I used to race full 29er, the same bike, when I was a junior, and somehow it wasn't a problem. But then when I rode the full 29er last season, just for the video shoot and for the team release, I couldn't ride. Like I was just tire buzzing my butt the whole time. And yeah, I was just stoked they came up with a mullet bike, and it worked. It works really well.
Yeah, I went back to doing 20 to 29 at one stage, and I just found the whole thing to be really linear. Like it leaned, it didn't turn anywhere near as well. Like it went fast in a straight line, but then when you came to the corners, it felt like the whole bike was going to go over compared to the mullet. And I don't know if that's because the wheels turning concentric circles on a mullet.
Yeah, so on the new bike, obviously we saw each other there in Queenstown last winter. I know the answer to that question, but you got plenty of laps during the off season there. You were there with your mechanic as well. How did that go?
Yeah, it was the first time that we had the chance to go to New Zealand. I've never been to New Zealand before, so it was like all super exciting with the team, and I also had a new mechanic, so that was a big step because I was always kind of sticking to my routines and sticking to my people. And first of all, I was a bit scared because with Matt, everything works out. And it was just, life decisions. He had a really good job offer of SRAM, a safe spot where, as a dad, you just want to have something safe. And I totally understood his decision. And then MJ was really cool because he's from my hometown. So it's nice to also have someone nearby when you just, need some help, because I'm not really a good mechanic by myself. So I need someone who takes care of stuff. And New Zealand was insane. I think I've never rode that much bike park laps before the season even started. So it was massive.
Cool. We'll take a quick break there, but we'll be back chatting 2024 after these messages. First race on the new Tues, and you took the win, which reminded me of Aaron Gwynn, who famously won on his first race on it. You won both semis and finals in Fort William this season. How much pressure were you feeling coming into that race on the new team?
Oh, I was just super relieved that the bike was able to win races. It's always tough because it's just like something that sticks to people in the head. If you ride for a bike company that never won a World Cup, they are like, oh, this bike is not a race bike, which is bullshit because, the engineers, they make a bike to go fast. And then you have the athletes who can make it win. And it was super cool just to approve it first thing in the season. But honestly, it was also mentally one of my biggest goals to perform well at the first World Cup of the season, because the previous years I also always struggled at the beginning of the season. Yeah. Like I was always crashing the first 2-3 races. So over the winter, my main goal was to win the first World Cup of the season, because after winning the overall and World Champs again, I kind of looked for something where I can improve. And for me, my goal is to win the first race of the season. And I don't know, it just all worked out.
Do you think in the past it's taken you a little bit of time to get up to pace?
I don't think up to pace, just to handle my nerves.
Right.
Because I was always there for qualifying, like my times were there. It was just that I couldn't handle my head during the race run.
And what did you do different this year to help deal with that?
I worked a lot, or I still work a lot with my sports psychologist. Like I started working with her weekly from January on, and we just, we were targeting my goals and visualizing things and making sure that I was in a good headspace.
Cool. And on to Poland for round 2, a new track and not the smoothest weekend for you. I think you had a mechanical in qualifying, but you came first in semis and then 6th in finals. Not the result you were looking for, but did you enjoy going somewhere new?
Poland was amazing. Like the track was insane. Like it was super fun to ride, and I can't wait to go back next year. I had a crash in the race run in Poland, so didn't really help for the preparation in Leogang because I hit my head a little bit. So still got 6th place. I don't know how, but I take it.
Just take a step back a second. Vali, it was just interesting today you're talking about working with a psychologist, and actually just working on visualizing your goals. I've done an awful lot of work with sports psychologists myself, and done an awful lot of visualization myself over the years. I know the value in it. As a coach now, I try and kind of get my young guys to certainly visualization is something I try and get them doing. How important do you feel it is, not just visualizing lines and tracks, but actually before events, visualizing what you can achieve? Is it something that you hold like really high up there, or is it just something that you
I think there's different ways of visualization. I think you can do the lines and everything to be 100% sure where you want to go. For me, it was more visualizing the emotions and feelings that I can feel. So I was always picturing like my safe spot. So it doesn't matter if you go hiking or you have that view, the perfect view with a sundown, and you just feel calm and you feel excited and you feel good about yourself. And I think that's something that I always struggled before, that I just, if you grow up, you're in puberty, you just struggle with yourself more than with everything else, and you don't really like yourself. You don't see what you've achieved. but she more or less helped me to be happy with myself, and that's where everything started rolling into the right direction. And happy racer is a fast racer, and if you can like remember yourself how good it feels when you bring down a run where you gave your best, doesn't matter if it's the result you wanted, but just if I gave 100%, I gave my best, then it's going to be good. And it was more about like being happy and emotions rather than like visualizing a certain line or something.
Back to Leogang, the perfect weekend for the second year in a row. First in quali, first in semi, first in finals, winning by 7 seconds, which is a huge margin. Did that go as smoothly as it seemed?
I had actually a couple of big crashes in Leogang because it was a bit greasy conditions, and it was just I've never been that sore in my whole life racing Leogang, but I just really wanted to repeat it and do well. And home races are crazy, but I always tend to do good when I have a bit of pressure. Now, before I struggled with it, and now I strive with it, so it's good.
And you must be starting to enjoy the home race a bit now.
Oh, yeah, slowly. But I just like Leogang was insane. First of all, we also got the new track, so it was so busy in our pits because everybody wanted to do a track tour and wanted to see the big thing. And then also like all your sponsors are coming, like all your friends, family are here. So as maybe some of you know, I hate to talk normally, so it was a really tough weekend, but I was just hiding myself as much as possible, and made it work.
Cool.
Nice. Run for Vali Höll. I remember seeing you trackside. For those who don't know, I do the Conti MTB social at the World Cup races, and I tried to do an interview of you trackside, and my God, you sounded rough. So you had the flu, you crashed in your race now, but it's still podium nevertheless. As you look back now, like, is battling through these tough weekends where the championships are won?
Probably. Like, I remember I had a super bad flu after Leogang. I think it's also when all those emotions, when you come down from that high, you're so vulnerable and you just get sick. And I think during that period, a lot of people were sick anyways. I think maybe COVID, I don't know, something going on. And I've never been that sick for such a long time before. And definitely not fun. It's definitely not fun to race Val di Sole when you're sick because it's such a demanding track. It was also super gnarly and sketchy, I remember. Like, it was definitely not that much fun riding it. I think it was the first time where I was like, there's literally no section of the track where I enjoy myself, but I'm just going to get it done now. And I was ready to push for my race run, but unfortunately crashed, but still ended up on the podium. So I survived the weekend and I was still leading the overall by then. So all good.
Yeah, I mean, this version of Val di Sole we had this year was like so muddy. It was a little bit slower than used to be. And with the rain, it made it. I only raced Val di Sole once in the wet. And I remember it has been like almost like impossible to get down some section. And I reckon it was like that this year. So I can't imagine try to like race it with the flu. Must have been insane physically as well. So I assume is it still your least favorite track of the circuit?
Maybe from this year, yes. But I really enjoyed it. So
yeah.
I don't know. I always try, if I have a bad memory of a track, I just try to think of the year before and then it's fine. So
what you said before about
nice.
Like preparing for a big event, and I'm pretty sure your body holds off things if you're really psyched for something. My company, we produce big events, conferences, award ceremonies, things like that, and the crew, nobody's ever ill on the show, but the week after any big show, there's so many people who are sick. And I've been doing this for 20 years and it's just constant all the time. I'm sure your mind can stop your body being poorly for a bit. And then, but then as soon as it's over, that's it. You can't hold it anymore.
100%. I had it actually winning my first Worlds in Léger. So in Léger that year, I think there was a weird flu going around, like people having stomach issues and throwing up. people said it was because of the water and stuff like this. And my whole team was like sick. My physio, he was like puking the whole night during the week, and my mechanic, Jamie Edmondson, my teammate by that time. And I was fine. And then I won Worlds. I did the podium, and 2 hours later, I was puking.
Oh,
Yeah,
I remember that.
I didn't even celebrate my first World Champs win because I was sick, not from the alcohol, in my hotel room. Yeah.
No, I remember you were like, oh my God, I have to go home. I feel sick. And I was like, have you been okay? No, not even. She was like, see ya.
That was amazing. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
The head is insane.
Yeah.
Back to the racing then. Leger looked like he was shaping out to be another perfect weekend for you. So you won quali, you won semis, but then obviously the rain came for finals, and it was a fair-ish race, I would say, for everybody. When you see that on that right-hander at the end where a lot of people got caught, you're fifth with a crash. But your splits weren't usually where they are. They were like 6th, 5th, 4th, and then 12th, obviously in the final sector with a crash. Was it that you were like, okay, I'm going to kind of take it easy because it's slippery? Or you think maybe it rained a bit more for the last riders on track? What can you tell us about this
Well,
race?
I just knew at the start that the goal was not to crash. So I took it a bit easier and I didn't try to push. And then when I past that shitty steep section, I was like, yes, I got it, but I forgot about the last corner and then crashed. So I was like, fuck. Because, yeah, I knew I could be on the podium if I don't crash. But then I forgot about the last corner again. And there I was on the floor.
Yeah, Eleonora was the only woman who didn't crash, I think, wasn't she?
And Mille, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but Bernard did the same as you. He was like, getting the right hander, everybody cheered, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm on left hander." But not. So yeah, I guess the crowd kind of like has an influence on you at this type of race, and especially there is pretty loud.
Yeah, it was mad, like crazy race to think back of, but it's just like those tiny things are like, like why was I already cheering before I'm in the finish line? You know, it's like, damn it, but. All good. You just learn, and luckily it was so slippery that nobody got injured, so it was good as well.
Yeah. Chambéry was next for European champs. You decided to race there. Had you ridden there before?
I've just been there for one day in the bike park, and Chambéry was definitely a tough weekend. I didn't really like the long break. I was kind of losing a bit of race motivation, and it didn't really make sense in my head to go racing. So I just went to the race thinking it would be good to get the fire again. But then we all got smoked by Lisa Baumann being an absolutely force on this track, which, you know, she's one of my best mates and I'm always training with her. And I knew she has the speed, but she was always struggling in her head to get it done. And I tried to follow her first lap. And I just couldn't follow. She was way too fast. And I told her after the first lap, you're going to win. And that's what she did. And it was pretty cool because last year when she got the podium in Ludenviel as well, after the first lap, I was like, you're going to be on the podium. And then she ended up on the podium. So I'm a bit of a crystal globe. So if you guys want to say something, just hit me up.
Or maybe you're just the fastest rider out there. And if you can't follow someone, means the person is probably going to win the race. You know?
No, but it was cool to see to get it done. And I mean, she smoked the whole World Cup circus was there except of Tani and Phoebe. So it was a good, amazing achievement for her. And I'm super stoked that I was there.
I just want to jump in here and ask, what were your thoughts after first practice of the track?
I was struggling big time. It was super weird. It was nothing really I was used to ride.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I can't ride my bike anymore.
Yeah. It's a stick
track. Like if you do a full run, then it feels better. But if you do practice and you stop and go, you don't really find the flow. So it's good to know for next year that, you know, kind of approach practice a bit different and try to do more full runs rather than trying to stop. And because first of all, you can't really stop because it's that steep. And then finding the flow again is tough.
So I crashed on my first run on that. Just after the first fire road, there's a big slabby kind of right-hander that goes down like a corkscrew, and I didn't commit enough. I just didn't go fast enough, and I slid down to the bottom. And then the second run, I went so fast into it because I was like, this is the worst thing that can happen. So just commit and do it. And I went so fast into it, and I was halfway around the corner, and I just went, this is too much. I've got to stop. I've got to stop. I've got to stop. It's too much. But there's nowhere to stop. I had to go down like 5 or 6 more corners, by which point I'd kind of calmed down a bit. But it's just, I've never ridden anything like it. It's just insane.
I think the track also, so I've been there a lot of times. I think the track for the race was like way more blown out than I thought it was going to be, because this is a very hard pack track. And even though it's been riding all that, I've never seen it that blown out before. And I was like, whoa, that's unseen for us to see it like a hard pack. Like all the berms were like really getting soft and everything. So that made it harder. I'm just kind of happy it didn't rain after it got that blown out, because I don't think in the rain there's a whole different beast.
I don't think I would have been able to get down in the rain.
But I feel like it's a more fun in the rain, because like Loudonvielle also, when there's ruts and like it's a little bit muddy, it slows you down.
Yeah.
So you're not on the brake as much as you are in the dry there.
Yeah.
So maybe next year is gonna rain and it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. We'll see.
Cool.
Vali. But anything can happen, especially at the end of the season. So when you were in Champery there, and like it wasn't really your feeling, and you got beat by Lisa, like were you like worried, about the Worlds next year, or were you like, nah, I need to work on this?
Luckily, only Lisa beat me, so I still was faster than everyone else. I was like, okay, Lisa can be world champion. It's okay for me, If I get on the podium, then it's okay as well. But if Lisa wins,
for sure, the Swiss are gonna push hard for next year. The Swiss are gonna push hard. We just don't know how many there's gonna be.
When I met Lisa for the first time, she just started racing downhill, and she told me, "Vali, you can win the next few world champs, but in 2025." I want to be world champion, because it's going to be in Switzerland. And I was like, holy shit, that's cool. So it will be a fierce battle next year for Worlds. But I won it 3 times now. If there's one person that's allowed to take it away from me, then it's Lisa.
Cool.
Okay. So indoor Worlds, you got that pink and purple bike and kit. Looked pretty cool. How involved were you in that design?
Not at all. It was a big surprise from YT. So
cool.
Yeah, it was cool, because normally things always get a bit leaked. You always know you see something that you're not supposed to see, but they managed to do it well. Yeah, it was cool.
Knowing you were going for the three-peat, did that bring you extra pressure?
I didn't really think about doing it 3 times in a row. It was more or less, I felt good on the track, and then I did quali, and I thought I would easily win quali, and I got slapped in the face with being 6 seconds back, and I was like, what the fuck? What's going on here? So it was kind of cool, because I could calm myself down and not stress out too much, because I knew my lines were fine. On this track, it's not that I do anything wrong on track. I just need to figure myself out now. And I feel like at some point you start to grow up, because at the beginning I always felt like, okay, it's me, I'm not working well. But then you also be like, okay, if I change this on my bike, it makes sense. And that's the first time that we just totally changed my whole bike setup. And on that extra day of practice, I banged out super fast runs, and every run I had a different setup, and we just took the fastest setup to race for finals day.
Cool.
Yeah, I feel like I can also see with Cam, because that week she was like feeling pretty good, and she's done the most runs she's done like all season there in Andorra, because the track was fairly like straightforward, not that technical. The conditions were good, so you could
not get tired.
Yeah, short enough to do many runs, and then you can test a lot of things. So you like, how much did the extra day have like to help you besides the bike as well?
For me,
Because it can be annoying, but it can also be good, you know?
Yeah, I think for me in that case, it was good. I feel like if I would have won qualies and I was only up by 1.5 seconds, you're like, fuck, like why can't we just race tomorrow? Because it gives other people time to improve. Where sometimes if you already have a really good quality, it's harder to improve yourself. But I knew, okay, there's so much more in the tank. Let's go. Which is mad because just the weekend after in Ludenviel, I improved my time by 11 seconds just overnight. And that's crazy. I don't know what's going on at the moment in my head, but
sorry.
I just wanted to ask one thing, and I can't quite remember the exact thing I want to ask you. It's, you used to deploy like a thing. It might be that it is what it is, because that's kind of your catchphrase, that kind of was a message to almost yourself to relieve pressure. Like coming into a race, I'd see you in an interview and you go, it is what it is. And I hadn't seen that all this season, but then I saw it in Andorra. Was the most pressure you felt this season?
Probably. I think Leogang was pretty close with it just because of all the attention and media things I had to do and how busy I felt and just I wanted to deliver it in front of my family. That's all.
Yeah.
But Worlds is a different kind of nerves. It's a different kind of stress because it's just that one run. At a World Cup, you can also play it a bit more about consistency. Like you don't really need to win every race run you do. If you collect points, it's good enough. For Worlds, it's that one only run, and you need to be there, and you need to be hungry for it and really want it and push it. And especially this year in Andorra, it was scary how fast we went.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Cam said. She was like, "Oh, it's kind of good, but like on the other hand, it's kind of like scary to have to push that hard." Even though she didn't, because everybody was like, "No, you're not allowed." But yeah, definitely. Yeah, you could see how people were like, okay, now it's time, and you found 8 seconds, which is pretty crazy. That was enough to take your third world championship. It looked like a pretty almost perfect run, at least from what we could see. Did it feel that way when you were riding?
Yeah, it was super chill. Like it was mad because it felt like my quali run, but there was fire, There was something else in my head that made it work, where in quali I didn't have it. And it's funny because nowadays, like I wasn't nervous for my quali run, but I was nearly puking myself for my race run. And the same thing in Ludenviel, I wasn't nervous. And I know every time I'm not nervous, I'm not there to fight for it. So it was, every time I am nervous, I know I'm ready. So.
I watched the run again yesterday, and I just wanted to ask: as you come onto one of the bridges, you nearly tagged the orange pad. You whipped it round at the last second. Were you going that close on every run, or was that just going that bit faster?
The trees were super close in this section.
Yeah,
it was just like skiing, It was also weird on this track. It was the first time we actually hit the poles that often with your feet, because we were just like so close to all the poles this year. It felt a bit like skiing, so it was fun to do
it. So the juniors raced a couple of days before. Obviously, I watched the GoPro run of Aris, and I saw the conditions were like a bit more damp. So obviously there were more grip there. The track wasn't as beat up, but still, Aris was the only one to run sub 3 minutes at that event. Looking forward to doing battle with her next season.
No, it's sick. I mean, it's the first thing I said to her when I finished, like, fuck, you still beat me. It's cool. Like, I love where the women's racing is heading to, and we have a bright future. And it's also cool that they all have the same mentality. Like, we all competitors, but we all push each other, and we can all hang out and have a good time. I mean, Aries, if you watch her whips, like, she's one of the most stylish riders, and I'm happy that she wants to hang out with me, like I feel like I'm a bigger fan of them than they're of me. So yeah, it's cool. Like it's all super professional and healthy, and we all train together, and we have the same coach. We share lines, and it's cool because now with Lisa and Aris for next year, like, they're competitors, but we still share our lines. We are open and we push each other. But it can also be a big benefit because then in practice we can try do different lines and we can decide, okay, this one was faster or not. Where before I was kind of on my own and didn't have that. And now it's cool because we're all on the same level. It's nice.
So Ludenviel last weekend, do you prefer the point and shoot of Andorra where everyone's basically on the same line, or the unpredictability of a wet Ludenviel?
Ludenviel was mentally not a good race for me because I had zero energy and I had zero motivation to push. And Ludenviel I was a bit intimidated. It was weird. Like, you had to commit to break less to go into all the steep shoots, and I can't ride ruts. I don't know. I need to practice this over the winter. I always knew that, for example, Kami is really good in riding in the wet and riding in ruts, where like I feel like I can't let loose. I always need to control my bar and turn, but you can't turn in ruts. So it was a tough one for me, and more mentally, I was not hungry. I was like so tired afterwards, and yeah, it was tough for me to show commitment and do it and fight for it. But I also called my psychologist before quali, and I was like, something is wrong with me. Like, I don't care about this race at all, and that's wrong. And how can I change it? So yeah.
How did you change it?
Well, to be honest, coming into Ludenviel, I had no idea about the points. I had no idea that I could wrap it up this weekend already. Right. And I kind of didn't want it to know. But the only way to make me go commit for race day was that I knew I have to do well so I can win the overall already, so I can go on holiday next week without having to worry about anything. And it was crazy because in the team we agreed on not telling me, but then she told me to awake that fire inside of me, and it helped a little bit. I still, when Miriam beat me, I was like, because I knew I had to win, but then Miriam beat me, and like, just when you finish your run, you kind of go through it and you're like, okay, I braked on the road, I braked there, I didn't commit there, I went on a different line there, and you're like, you just know where you lose time. Yeah. And then still I was only 1 second behind Miriam, so that's fair enough. And then everybody knows how the overall was decided, that Tani was the only one racing in the rain and unfortunately crashed. So obviously not the way how I wanted to be decided. Well, yeah. Who knows? I don't know why life is treating me that nice the last few years. I take it. As long as it's coming, I take it. And yeah.
Yeah, Cami's the opposite at the moment, isn't she? She's on a bad run.
You could say that.
They cancelled second practice on Friday. How many runs did you get in on Friday?
2.
And
you more than
like most
others.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were one of the riders who got a rerun in your quali. Had you crashed on the first quali too?
Yeah. Yes. I actually did, and it was all pretty funny because the rule is that you don't have to do a rerun, but Tani wanted to do a rerun to get points, obviously. So I was like, okay, if Tani is going, she's going as well. And then I had a terrible run. It was my worst position ever. I think I got 7th or 8th, super weird. I was in the finish. I was like, what the fuck? What happened? Because I didn't crash, there was no excuse. I just got smoked again. And Tani won. And it's the first time that I'm happy that I didn't win qualifying, because otherwise it would have been me up in the rain. And yeah, who knows? If we wouldn't have raced, maybe we would have all had a fair condition to race against each other. But, it is what it is.
What were your thoughts on the delay before going up for the reruns and how that impacted the other riders?
I knew it was a bit unfair for a lot of people, but also unclear how it was communicated. For example, for Mille and everyone else, when we had to do our main qualifier, it was still a bit more wet. And then obviously everybody improved their time except of me. I think I'm the only one that went slower in the dry than in the wet. But it's a tough one. Like for sure we had nicer conditions than the girls who raced before, and unfortunately some of them got unlucky. But I think the rules are actually that if there are reruns, more people or everyone is allowed to do another rerun. That's what I kind of heard after this situation.
Right.
But nobody knows the rules until it's too late, Yeah.
And did you, when you went back in between the two runs, did you swap tires? Were you adjusting settings?
Yeah, I was swapping tires because I crashed in the turn because I was on full spikes and I just rolled the tires. So I was like, okay, it's going to be dry. So I tried the Argotal. Yeah.
So my last question on Ludenville was going to be that it obviously turned out to be a blessing that you seeded 7th. Was any of that strategic? But it clearly wasn't.
Well, now if people ask me, of course, I went slow on purpose in quali. But no, like I tried to do well and collect as many points as possible. Somehow qualis ended up not my way, but at the end of the day, I tried to improve myself again, and I went 11 seconds faster for my race run. And that was the biggest thing I could do. But I was just mentally so exhausted that I had no emotions in the finish area. I was so tired, I just wanted to go home.
Yeah. It's understandable. It's a big few weeks. Last question on this section, and a little bit different. You've been running the RockShox flight attendant technology this season. Tell us a bit about how that works and how does it feel different when you're riding it? Because it's making like live adjustments to your suspension, isn't it?
Who knows?
I've been online and looked at what it says online, and it says like there's 3 settings. There's like a lockout. Can't remember what the other 2 were, but one for going downhill and one for pedaling, I think. And I was like,
it's just seat heating and grip heating for me, because I always take cold hands, so I have a grip heating.
Say again.
No, it's just
the heater.
Like, hey, what?
Heater.
Right.
That would be a good thing for William, though.
No, for mountain end we need it.
Yeah.
The hands.
Yeah, sure.
Hand warmers. Yeah. Okay. That's as good a place as any to take our next break. We'll be back chatting about the future after these messages. Let's have a chat about the future then, because we're keen to get your opinion on the changes that have taken place over the last couple of seasons and the changes that look like they're coming in next season. On the previous episode, which you won't have heard yet because we haven't recorded it yet, it was actually going to be the intro to this show, but I wrote it and it turned into a really long show in itself, so we split them and we're recording that tomorrow morning. But for one reason and another, it's coming out before this episode, and in it we discuss the MTB Reform doc, which I presume you've seen.
Yes.
There's a lot of changes coming, in our opinion, some good, some bad, and we wanted to get your thoughts on some changes that are being suggested. So over to you, Emmy.
So semis are being replaced with qualifying 1 and qualifying 2 without protection. You want a fair few semis, so would you like to keep semis, or are you a fan of semis at all?
I feel like for me, it kind of helped me to get up to speed for race day. The more full runs I do, the faster I get. So I just took it as a bit of an extra training lap, more or less. I think no protection is amazing, because there is no sport where just because you did well the year before, you kind of get a free ticket and you always show up on the big day. I don't think that was cool, and I feel like a lot of people, I mean, obviously I also had to use it 2 times. When I had the mechanical in Poland, I wouldn't have qualified, and the year before when I crashed in Lenteheide. So I used it 2 times as well, but I feel like this year also a few people used it. If it's good or bad, I don't know. I think it's also smart. Like if you're injured and you try to save energy, you can do it. Or like Nina, when she was injured and she always knew she's going to be able to race on Sunday. So, it can be good or bad, but I don't think it should be fair, because if you're injured and you're not up to speed for qualifying or seeding semis, you're not supposed to race. That's it. And it can also affect, us. Like if we have bad luck and we have 2 mechanicals, then we're not racing. But that's it. And in any other sport, also the best in the world can have a bad day and they don't show up on finals. So I think it's cool.
Yeah. Increase to 15 riders in the elite women's final. Are you happy about that?
Yeah, definitely.
We worked really. we were just writing emails to get it done. Miriam had a big role to play in that as well. So shout out to Miriam as a UCI representative for the ladies. So I think right now, like you said before in this show, like there's so many people that are capable of getting even top 3, I'd say, inside the top 15. So I'm stoked for that. And yeah, everyone is probably in the field. What about three riders podium?
It's a tough one, because I feel like every time I got on the podium and I was 4th and 5th, it was when I also had a crash. So I felt like I don't really deserve it to be up there, because I wasn't happy with my performance. Whereas for some other riders, if they make it on the podium for the very first time, it's the biggest thing ever. Yeah. Again, it's only in our sport that there is a P5 podium, but it also gives you some credit, and you can also, have some added bonus value from your sponsors and partners, because you have the reach, you are in the media, and you can represent your sponsors. So it gives you an extra, money value, I would say.
I mean, if you get my amount of podiums, top 5 podiums, there's 16, 17, and there's maybe 2 top 3. So you can say 3, it's quite and I think without the top 5, I don't know if I would ever get top 3, because of the belief in yourself and stuff. So
yeah, and at the end,
it's like when you have a social.
Yeah, sure. And at the end, it doesn't hurt them if they have to do 4th and 5th rider and you get a small, shitty wooden trophy. It doesn't cost them anything.
It does, because it's broadcasted. So apparently it costs them more money to broadcast 2 more people on the podium.
It's more value to us and more value to show us.
Exactly.
And spread the downhill sport over the whole world. So it should be good for everyone.
Yeah, so really trying to fight this, and I know the XC people are really onto it to try to keep it and make whatever it takes to keep it. So I won't go more in details, but definitely something that the riders I want to try to keep. And just because other sports don't do it, I don't think it's an argument, because in judo there's 4 people, there's 2/3. I mean, what the hell? Yeah. And they haven't changed the sport because it doesn't fit someone's agenda or broadcast. It's just how it is. So yeah. So another point was riders who want to walk up will get to have they're going to get selected career number and color as well, between 2 and 999. And the current rider with the highest number of World Cups will get to choose first. So we're not sure if it means you and Miriam get to choose first. Maybe after Mons and Anne, one of you get to choose first. Which number are you going for?
I think it's tough. It's a tough one, because it's not like BMX racing where you start with a number early on and you have your favorite things. I never had a favorite number because, I did play soccer a little bit, but I was never attached to any numbers really. Where I know Kami, when she played ice hockey, she has a number, and I think it's really cool because it can also be some of your brand identity and in your logo and everything. People can buy merch, and there's a big chain coming afterwards where you can use it really well. I think I have 2 numbers in mind. It's either 11 or 13. I don't know yet what I'm going to choose, but we will see.
Oh, 13.
Nobody's
crazy.
going to fight you for 13.
No. You're not tempted to go in and take 58?
Why 58?
That's Tani's number, isn't it?
57, George.
Oh, 57 is it? Sorry,
57.
57.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Actually,
I imagine if you do right.
well, actually,
imagine if
guys,
you do that though.
we had a discussion in Andorra during dinner, and I was like, imagine how funny when you take a super random number like 57, for example, and then everybody looked at me. I'm like, what? Why it's Tani's number? I was like, no way, I had no idea the number. Well, I think
that's just subconscious. That's what that is.
I think you could piss people off really, really big time when you snake their number. But no, I think it can look cool.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about the colors. I think this is a really bad idea because why do it? It's gonna be super boring and give people the freedom and the brands to show what they do. Like every year there's a new style and we should adapt, and it's also kind of a fashion show what we're doing. So I don't think it's a good idea.
If these changes are implemented, it's going to be much harder to race a World Cup. Lisa Baumann, great example. She's bounced between disciplines before kind of settling on downhill. I just don't think that's going to be possible really anymore. Give us your thoughts on that kind of side of the changes.
Yeah, for sure. It makes it harder for you as a multi-discipline athlete to join in and ride your bike and have fun, because there are many people who can win enduro races and be on the downhill podium. I don't think it's good to cancel those people out and be like, no, you're not allowed to join anymore. Either you do a full season or you do nothing. I think it's really sad because it's mountain biking. It's not the Formula One, where you are in the Formula One but then you're not allowed to do Formula 3, which also it's totally different world. I think biking should stay a bit more loose, and we will see how it works out. It scares me a little bit, to be honest, as well, because you have to, maybe it turns out that maybe one day you have to pay teams to be a part of it if you're not a top athlete, stuff like this. So it's just going a bit more in the other direction for people who are not pro athletes yet. For example, juniors stepping up into elite. It's like it's going to be really hard for them.
Yeah, 100%. So in recent years, there's been a push towards shorter, faster tracks and tighter racing. I think we heard you say on Win TV after Worlds that you hoped for a return to something a bit more technical.
Yeah, 100%. Because first of all, it's a bit scary, and you see that most of the riders, they're all riding on the same line. There's no room for great creativity anymore, or showing your best or your strength, because there is nothing. You can't do any insides anymore because either it's taped or there is no inside because it's a bike park anyways. So I hope it will change, but probably it's not going to change because they need to stick with the TV times. So we'll see.
And in the same interview, I think I heard you say that you have different plans for next season, possibly taking on hardline. Is that just to try and keep it fresh?
Oh, for sure. And also to motivate myself a bit and get out of comfort zone. Like every year was invited to hardline and I always had a really good excuse not to do it. Whereas here it would be nice to like face it and try it and learn from the others, learn from the boys and from the girls. And I mean, also I feel like it's a good platform to reach a new audience. And I would also be keen to try some freeride at some point, or do a bit more outside of racing, just to also get better in riding bikes.
So are you starting with hardline Tasmania or coming straight to the UK?
Well, I'm definitely not going to do UK because Tasmania looks a bit more manageable, and also if you crash into the jungle, I think it hurts less than if you crash down a cliff in Wales.
I feel like though, when you see Tani and Louise and this, even Gracie, even though she had an injury this year, doing hardline really helps them like to race World Cups, like in terms of confidence. Like you say, Louise out of hardline just like came to Whistler and jumped everything straight away. Do you feel like it's gonna help you like to reach the next level and as an athlete as well, even though you're already like probably the best jumper out there, I'd say?
Well, definitely I feel like pushing yourself, obviously it needs to be in a safe environment, but just to do that extra 3 meters and do some maybe new gaps in the World Cups and just, you know, try something new. And I feel like it's really cool to see in women's racing as well. If we are racing a new track and there's a big jump, maybe in the first year only 2-3 girls jumped it. The year after, the top 10 jump it. The year after, everyone is jumping it because they know it's possible. And I think that's really cool in women's racing, that you can really see it live with your own eyes how we push each other.
Cool. Before we go, what's your best team rumor?
I'm quite stoked. I'm not allowed to say anything, but I'm happy.
I think we might discuss that rumor on what will be the previous episode.
Yeah. Enjoyed.
All right. So I just want to close out the show with a clip from the last time you were on the podcast. And this is me talking about you. And I'm just going to read it now because I can't play it in. When Rachel was in her prime, people said, we'll never see this level of domination again. But I think we will. I think you're going to dominate like Rachel did. In your first 2 seasons, you've won the 2 big prizes. For other racers to even get there, the juniors aren't going to do it in their first 2 seasons. When you get to your peak, you're just going to get stronger. You might have 2 or 3 world titles or overalls by that time. And by the time you get there, and you're going to get that confidence that Rachel had, and going out, it doesn't matter whether I win it or not, because I've got these other wins behind me. And that's why I think you'll dominate. So 11 Elite World Cup wins, 3 World Cup overalls, 3 World Championships at 22 years age. Thank you for proving me right.
Oh, thanks. I mean, for sure, Rachel is different, or same as Ankaro. Like those amount of wins, I don't think it's possible anymore. Okay, I still maybe have 10 years in front of me, but I don't see myself winning 30 World Cups to match with Rachel, or even more, you know. That would be a really long time of racing and trying to win. But no, I'm stoked with where I am, and it's amazing. Like I ticked off all my dreams already. So
yeah, I mean, Rachel never did the three-peat, did she, of the world champs? That was Ankara. I don't think so. I think Ankara was the last person to do that, or the only person ever to do it. So before you. So you've done something that Rachel hasn't already. So
well, then I take it.
Well, congratulations on the double three-peat. Unbelievable skills. And thank you again for making the time. We won't leave it so long next time. And that's all we've got time for. Big thanks to the amazing sponsors of the show: Hope Technology, J-Tech Suspension, Revolution Bike Park, Ride Southern Spain, Schwalbe, and SingleTrackWorld.com. If you're enjoying the podcast, I'm sure you know what to do by now. Please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you've got a sec, please drop us a review. Alternatively, please give us a follow on Instagram at Making Up the Numbers Racing, or Facebook.com/MakingUpTheNumbers. We'll be back soon, hopefully before month's end.